You know, if I were to ask you, of all the different fishing lures on the market today, what lure rates the lowest in popularity and gets fish the least? Now wait, before you answer, let me add this. It closely imitates a minnow or a crawfish in the water. It has plenty of action and looks extremely natural, whether you swim it, drag it, or hop it. Naturally, it must be rigged right and fished correctly if it's to produce the way it should. Know what it is? Okay, one more clue. Virtually every fish that hits an artificial lure will strike this bait that the majority of bass anglers totally ignore. Have I kept you in suspense long enough? Well, if you said the plastic grub, you'd get an A+. That's right. Tell you what, let's go sink it. Those anglers who know how to fish a grub catch lots and lots of fish on it year-round because it's so effective. And these anglers also know there are definite times when a fish like the bass will strike a grub a lot better than they will a plastic worm, lizard, or even a jig and plastic combination. That might surprise you, but it is a fact. This is something to consider the next time your favorite plastic baits are not producing. There's one. Yikes! Ooh! Out in the deeper water he comes. Out in the deeper water. Oh, that's a toughie. Pretty little old fish down there. Okay, just diving. Will to live is unbelievable. Come here now. Come here. Oh, you want to throw water, don't you? It's your way to get even. All right. I told you. Oh, hooks just get them. Potted. Toodaloo. I think you can tell by now that our show is devoted to this little guy that so many fishermen just simply ignore. Maybe it's because they think it's just difficult to fish, or possibly never thought just how effective it can be. So with this in mind, allow me to pass along to you some tips that I've learned over the years from some excellent grub fishermen. Now we're going to be discussing the right tackle, proper line size, ideal lead head weights and grub lengths, plus colors, and the most effective presentations. Woo! Boom! See that? Boy, that is so neat. That is so neat. You got it down in your mouth. I'm not going to swing you up here and hurt you. Right. Easy. He wanted it too, didn't he? There we go. Now speaking of tips, here's one. Let's start with tackle. Now, when you say tackle, I'm referring to rod and reels. Now with most grubs you fish, open face spinning tackle you'll do a lot better with, not bait casting. You got a lot better control with open face spinning than you do, let's say, with bait casting. The reason is because lead head grub combination is often very light in weight, ranging from 1/16 of an ounce up to about 1/4 of an ounce in lead head size. Now with an 1/8 ounce being the most popular all-around size, you'll do so much better, as I said, with open face spinning. These lightweight lures are very difficult to cast with bait casting. And the grub produces best in a clear water situation, which calls for lightweight lines in the 6 to 8 pound class. My choice in rods would be a 6.5 to 7 foot fast tip with a good amount of backbone. An action referred to as a 20-80. What that means is 20% rod tip for sensitivity and 80% backbone that allows for a firm hook set and capable of handling a pretty good sized fish if you're fortunate enough to get one on. The reel should be big enough for all-day fishing comfort and should have a long stroke spool which allows for longer and smoother cast, which also reduces line wear and friction. The reel needs to have an anti-reverse feature that's easy to get to, and the reel should have a front drag that's more efficient than a rear drag setup. The 15 size with a 5.3 to 1 gear ratio is just perfect for smoothness, balance, and overall performance, like this Quantum Acris that I'm using today. Okay, enough on that. Now let's get back to fishing. Got my bug, got my dog. No, he didn't. I'm gonna whip you up here. Look at that. Nice little fish too. And I got my fingers all hung up in your gills. Ta-ta. Now, when selecting a rod and reel for grubbing, choose a quality one. It'll pay huge dividends in efficiency. My choice here is also a Quantum. I like this 6'9" Acris medium action. It's light enough, super sensitive, strong, and has a fast action feature that we just discussed. I'm just free falling it now, just letting it fall, taking up the slack. Most of them are hitting in about 14 feet of water. And just a lot of cover, rocks, and some kind of brush. I don't know what it is. Looky here. Boop. Come off that 14 into this 35, and I mean, just fly right to me. Whoa. Full of themselves. Easy. Come here, don't try that. As far as line goes, that's something else that you want to select, a high quality premium one. I'm sure you've heard that the most critical link between fish and fishermen is your line. Choose a good one. The most popular line weights for grub fishing is somewhere between 6 and 10 pound test. What's necessary in line for grub fishing is low stretch and sensitivity. Too heavy a line affects sink rate, castability, and feel. I mounted on my trolling motor, and I'm easing out of about 35 feet of water up on about 14 to 15. You can look, you can see 3 fish about 14 to 15 feet on my graph right now. So I'm gonna just back out. And these are some of the fish that I'm catching on the grub in about, like I say, in about 14 to 16 feet of water. Boom! Yeah. Come here, buddy. Come here. Oh, boy. See water all in. Oh. Come around here. Well, if you don't open your mouth, I can't get you. There we go. Oh, you got it too. Sharp little hooks on that bait. Fat. Ta-ta. Ta-ta. Okay, let's spend a minute and discuss lead head weights. As we mentioned earlier, the most popular weight size is the 1/8 ounce. However, there will be times when the 1/8 ounce is too light as a result of wind, depth, or current affecting your field. In that case, you may want to increase the size to a 3/16 or a 1/4, or maybe even a 3/8. Remember, you gotta feel what your lure is doing to be able to fish it properly. However, it's best to use the lighter weight whenever you possibly can. But one thing you want to keep in mind, if you go too light, many times it's going to affect the tail action of your grub. Too light, it's not going to create, on the fall, it's not going to create any action to that tail as it drops. So many times when you put that lighter head on, just drop it in the water, drop it, and see if the tail action is working properly. But try to use the lightest weight you can possibly use and get away with. Unless you rig it on a heavy lead head, the grub is a very light, slow-falling bait. With the curly swimming style tail, it has a different action. This different action comes from the design that delivers the greatest possible tail action at the slowest possible speed. Ooh. Whoa, Bubba. Oh, I got you. Whoa. There we go. That's a nice one.
If you've been one of our cherished viewers of Bill Dance Outdoors for very long, I don't have to tell you that when our host gets deeply involved into what he'd like to teach you in a show, there's just no stopping him. Show timing goes right out the window, and even when the field crew starts cueing him with, "Hey, Bubba, listen up. Hey, we're out of time for today. You got to cut." He often just kind of ignores them and just keeps right on going as if he's hoping the network will let him go on and on and on. Well, unfortunately, that's not the case. And because Bill has a whole lot more that he's determined to say and show you about successfully fishing grubs, we're going to leave him still chunking away and pick up again right here next week with Part 2 of Dynamite Comes in Small Packages. Be sure to join us for it.
Now I've gone fishing with Bill Dance today.